Welcome to my in-depth analysis of the Gran Turismo 7 release date trailer. Hallelujah, folks. It finally came. And this is a pretty cotton-picking important video. I will have linked in the description the video that I made alongside this one. That's a pretty cotton-picking important video for my channel and the future of it. So be sure to watch that one if you're more interested in my going full time and my plans for Gran Turismo 7 and onward. But as for this video, I've been waiting to do this video for a long time, like a day longer than I wanted to, but there's still minor things outside of my control. And then again, talked about in the other video. But as for this, because like the original Gran Turismo 7 trailer, because I couldn't do it right when it came out, I'll do it a little bit different than the general analysis type thing. And I'll mention stuff relative to what other people have said about it and stuff too, since the trailer has been out for roughly a day or so. And then ultimately combine that with what I see as well. And I would do a separate video on my actual thoughts of it as well, like I did with the initial trailer. So anyway, let's get into it, folks. Finally. PlayStation Studios, like usual. And then, holy shnikes, literally within the first second, we have ourselves some nostalgia. Moon over the castle on an organ. Like the organ you play, not the football team, the state, or the thing in your body. The good kind of organ. And that is a pretty picking good organ. That's a fancy one. That's a fancier organ than I've ever heard in real life. But anyway, as it said there, it's recorded on the PlayStation 5. As we've known for a while now, and people disputed because they didn't want to admit it as true. There's a PS4 version of this game that's coming out in 2022 at the earliest. And yeah, there's that. But I'll get into that more in the thoughts video. I'll just put it like that. But anyway, this footage is PS5. And that's Porsche. I guess I'll say that too. That's the Porsche 917 Living Legend Edition. That is a new addition to the Gran Turismo series because it's sort of kind of like a Vision Gran Turismo car. I don't know if it's officially called that. From what I've seen on GT Planet, it's just called the Porsche 917 Living Legend, and that's the one in the middle. So that's cool. It looks like something from Burnout. Some people like that, some people don't, but I like it. I like when stuff looks like Burnout. And then even more nostalgia. That's Gran Turismo 1 there with the leaves blowing and then the stands with like the fog and stuff. So that's cool. I played Gran Turismo 1 for maybe 4 or 5 hours total, but I know a lot of people slightly older than me played it a whole heck of a heap. And that became the initial famous Gran Turismo game. Of course, Polyphony Digital was around before with the MotorTune GP and all that. I was hoping when I was seeing this much nostalgia that I'd see some type of MotorTune GP nostalgia in there too. But that may be a little bit wishful thinking. That Tourist Trophy, I want bikes. More Gran Turismo 1 with the bird flying off and such. That's cool, but I want to see gameplay at this point. Yes, folks, we know we're nostalgic. But again, I'll do that more in the thought. But that's an engine. It's cool. I guess we don't really know what car the engine is from. I don't really think it's all that important. I mean, generally speaking, in a racing game, an engine appears a lot in, like, cinematics and stuff. Gran Turismo 5 had an engine. I think that the initial reference was from an even earlier Gran Turismo game. And then the Gran Turismo logo is sort of a reference of all the games except for Gran Turismo 6 because that logo was white. I guess we try to forget about Gran Turismo 6, and that's not necessarily a terrible idea, but we need to forget about sport. Anyway, that's a pretty logo. I like it. The blue and the red combined. In a way, kind of Jacksepticeye style. You've seen the back of his room and stuff. I don't think that's what they're going for to think about Jacksepticeye, but that's kind of a reference, I guess, if you know what his looks like. And that's cool. Blue and red definitely mesh well together. We've known this. That's been Gran Turismo colors for a while, and America colors for a while and a half, and Great Britain colors for about 2 whiles. So that's cool. And then that's cool too, because it's Gran Turismo 2, even more nostalgia, and it's like Jaggy, so ignore that. On TV, I guess, I hope. But anyway, here is some escapes with the fancy Porsche again, and Gran Turismo 4 nostalgia. So far, the entire thing has been nostalgia and not any actual gameplay yet, but whatever. I guess this is true gameplay of the escapes, but it's just sort of in a cinematic way, so you don't 100% know if it's directly for the game, or directly from the game, or if it's cinematics. I'm gonna assume that's kind of both. Like, the individual seconds of footage is from the game, and then it's edited in a cinematic format. So it's kind of both, would be my guess. But whatever, it looks pretty, and this looks like an ad, so I'm moving on from that. That's kind of an ad, but I mean, Gran Turismo's been visiting Gran Turismo heavy, really, since Gran Turismo 5, and if we want to go back, you could say the visiting Gran Turismo sort of kind of thing with the Citroen in 2008, then the visiting Gran Turismo sort of kind of thing with Nike 2002 and 2022 and 2004. Y'all already know the meme. With that, no, folks, it ain't gonna happen. I don't really want a Nike shoe car anyway. But anyway, nothing terribly new there. But that's new, kind of. It's an old car to the series, but looks in a new way. Everybody bragged about how good this looks, and I agree. I know this phone can't do it justice, but again, in the other video, I explained that. But yes, folks, holy snikes, the Mercedes CLK race car from the classic Gran Turismo games is now back in this one, and then you see the car in the background as well, but I would say the car in the foreground is probably the one you want to see, so it's a good idea that it's the first one that we see in all of its wonderful glory. And yes, folks, I mean, holy snikes, there's really not much more I can say to that than just looking at it, and it looks incredible. Because this isn't a car that just got upgraded from GT6 Premium to GT Sport Premium to GT7 Premium. This got upgraded from Gran Turismo 4 era to GT7. So it got a massive step up, then just a gradual step up, and a massive step up when you compare a Gran Turismo 4 car to Gran Turismo 7 car is an insane step up, even for how good Gran Turismo 4 looked back in the day. This looks a whole heck of a heap better. And then Ferrari, something or another, it looks pretty. Maybe that's the FXXK that comes up later. I'm not super great on telling a Ferrari from an interior. But anyway, this is the more important bit. This is the city now with all the things to do. It looks different than it did in the 2020 trailer. Whatever, I'm indifferent. Ultimately, I play the game for the game. The background bit is cool and such, but I'd say they're going more for nostalgia with this too. Like Gran Turismo 2 sort of had a city type thing. So that's what they were doing in 2020. This is obviously not really as much of a city as it is like an island type thing. So I guess we can like go to different things, sort of kind of off the tripod. So it'll be a minute. There we go. Some of the stuff's pretty straightforward, like that's just shirts. And I'm not 100% sure what they are because it hasn't been explained. Like, I'd say this one's pretty straightforward, that's tuning. And then more down the line, like GT Cafe, I'd say that's just a general racing. I mean, it has a wheel, so you can say that. And then more in the background and such, and, I mean, there you go. That's... I think it's meant to be a little bit of a mystery, so that's just kind of a general... I guess you can say more of opinion, somewhat based on estimation with that. But I think it's meant to be more of a surprise type thing. We're not necessarily supposed to know what all this is yet, which is fine. We can wait for more information on some things like that, because for now I think they're still trying to run on the nostalgia bait more than what it actually is. But we did see the time transition, even in the menu screen, so that's a good sign. Sign of the time? Yeah, I'm sure there's dislikes anyway. But anyway, livery editor. The main thing we've seen with the livery editor is it is slightly updated. There's a few more options and such. But while I like the liveries and I definitely rate the liveries and stuff, I ain't the greatest with the livery editor. I've done a few of my own, but they're fairly basic. So I'm not really the one to go to and talk about the absolute specifics of the livery editor. I just know it's good, and like I've said since 2016, they should update it with like a Midnight Club Los Angeles style with the ratings and such, and you can actually rate it at a 5 and such. But again, it's thoughts video. But anyway, there it is going into the game itself on the Lamborghini. Again, slightly updated, cool, looks good. Lamborghini sounds good. And then there's the escapes. There's a whole heck of a heap. I think somebody said there's 2,671 or something like that. That's cool. I mean, escapes, all things considered, like I've said before, they were in there in Gran Turismo 4. They were just called photo locations. And there was still a fair bit back then. So I would say really this is just logical progression. This isn't anything mind-blowing or crazily different. It's just logical progression in a good way. So yeah, that's fine. Escapes in and of itself is past, present, and future, because it was in past Gran Turismo, called something else present, because, I mean, they were one of the main focus in sport. And in future, in terms of how they end up getting implemented with more features and all that. In the future, like ray tracing, and ray tracing is the future. That's why a lot of this trailer looks amazing, and well, yes, folks, ray tracing is amazing. So then there's the escapes and acts in there, and more of them. I'm not going to try to pause that quick, because my fingers ain't that quick. I learned that racing in GG Sport. That's a pretty photo. And then this is a pretty art museum with a pretty kind of cryptic, I guess you could call it, or maybe it's just generic. We'll see how it plays out in the game. Because I'm sure y'all have seen it. It's not all that common of a place. They try to make it sound like. Yeah. Only a chosen few drivers ever go. Is this going to be shown to everyone that gets the game quite early in the game? Or is this actually going to be some sort of feature for competing well in FI events? Or whatever it may be, we don't really know yet. They didn't go into that much detail. But again, that's how this trailer is. Like, a lot of things are left in the air. A lot of things are left to still question. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, I'm kind of indifferent towards it. Yes, I would like more information, but it's not that big of a deal when the game ain't coming out till at least March anyway. So, moving on. This is just your general, what you have in your garage. And folks, people have been panicking about this, but we've seen it since at least the original Gran Turismo 7 trailer, and I swear when there were trailers back in the old days, like PS3 era and such, all of the Gran Turismo trailers that I ever remember start out with Japanese currency. Like, what's up top there? This currency is not relative to whatever your currency you're using unless you're using Japanese currency. Don't panic about the prices of cars. It will get scaled to your region when it's out in your region, or when they do trailers more updated in the game and such, in which they have all of the recent currencies figured out and all that. To begin with, it's Japanese currency, and from what I recall, it's always has been. This is nothing new. Don't panic. This isn't going to be the grindiest game ever until it might be. But we don't know that yet. This isn't proof of that yet. So maybe it will, maybe it won't. But this ain't proof of it. I hope it ain't. But yeah, folks, don't panic about the prices of stuff. It's just Japanese. But anyway, there was like a 1 second shot that I don't think I have the reflexes to get to, where it showed a bunch of cars covered up. But I'll try to get to it anyway, because it's kind of an important shot. Let's see if I can do this correctly. Probably not. Over under on if I can actually pause it correctly. I say under. Whatever my guess is, it's still under. Let's try it. Wow, holy shnikes, I did. Not gonna brag about that, though. Anyway, as you can see, the cars that are uncovered, we see directly in the trailer, like the Jeep and the Alfa Romeo that was in the first trailer. And then, sort of, kind of, what we already knew about with the Aston Martin, because older games and stuff. But the main thing is to try to figure out what is under the covers. My guess is this is the Fiat/Abarth BAT from 1952. Because if it's under the cover, that means one, they're teasing it. That's a straightforward thing. But two, generally speaking, if you put a car under the cover, even when it's in an enclosed area, that means it's really expensive. And the BAT was always an expensive car for Gran Turismo. It's harder to tell when it's under the cover what it is exactly, but the proportions and stuff stand out, especially because this bit looks like the thing sticking out at the front of the BAT there. So that would be my guess. This is the Abarth BAT from 1952, if I remember correctly. This, frankly, I don't know, because the rest of the cars look old, and that looks fairly new. So I'm not really going to try and guess with this. But if I had to guess with this one, I would say it's a Selby Cobra. Because it looks like it kind of raises up there like you'd see with the Cobra. And then the front end kind of sort of looks like a Cobra. But this one's harder to tell than this one, I'll put it that way. I'm like 80% sure this is BAT. I'm about 50% sure this is a Cobra. And I don't really know what that one is. But my guess is if they're here, that means they're confirmed for the game too, because we already have other cars with them that are confirmed for the game. So I'd assume all the cars featured in this shot are indeed confirmed for the game. So that's pretty cool. And then again, the Alpha in that bit. And then Kaz likes his Skylines. We know this. There was a few people saying that this is a Gen 4 NASCAR, but I mean, look what it's next to. That doesn't really make sense for it to be a Gen 4 NASCAR. Again, like I said at the beginning, they're trying to go with nostalgia mixed with mystery with this, so we're not really supposed to know what it is. We're supposed to speculate and guess and ponder and all of those things. That's the point. So, what do y'all think in the comments for the various cars on the timestamps and such? We know this. Kaz loves his Skylines. Yeah, that's straightforward. If y'all watched the trailer, though, you know what's coming up next, and I have no idea what's next. We know that this, in general, is probably the GT Cafe, because there's coffee there and such. That's what we've already seen. I'm not even going to really attempt to zoom into whatever's in the back of the back there on my crappy phone, because I have to record this for library again in the thoughts. Alright, I mean in the onward from GT7 video. I don't know what the car on the right is either. It doesn't seem like anyone knows that for sure, but again, mystery and such, so I don't know. We'll find out at some point, I guess. But in general, if I had to guess, the main thing here is it's the GT Cafe because it has a coffee and such. That's cool. So I'd assume this is a mix of kind of sharing your photos in a more cinematic way and such that I would assume has some type of community element to it, because I assume if this much effort is put in the presentation side of thing, they'd want it to where other people look at it as well. That would be my guess, but again, nothing's confirmed. Mystery part, as I mentioned. And then Nurburgring, not too much of a mystery there. Nothing crazily really important in the shot other than it looks pretty. Nothing crazily important here too, because we see High Speed Ring in the trailer, and then yes, we confirmed that High Speed Ring is in Japan. Okay, cool, but we still don't have Motegi, we still don't have Seoul, This is for all of Asia and Australia. So there are some tracks that we've had in the past that we don't hear. But again, Gran Turismo Sport got free updates and all that, and it's not a downright definite confirmed of how many tracks there will be. Meaning there may be some that are added later on. We don't know for sure yet. So while I'm not panicking about tracks, I'm not super impressed about tracks. But again, thoughts video. And then there you have it, folks. High speed ring and
the trees are too big. They're too unedited.
Yeah, we've heard this for. Yeah, we know the memes. The trees didn't look good in old games. Gran Turismo themselves said they were too big. I'll just be straightforward here. There's some bits of High Speed Ring that is really done and looks better than ever, and then there's some bits that really ain't. I don't know why they added this on to the trailer. Some bits look amazing, some bits look terrible. I really don't know about this one, folks. Not so sure. I could just look at this for 20 minutes and think about it. There's a lot of stuff to think about, good and bad, but I'll move on. Just this test scope. I can never say that track right. It's a famous Japanese one we've had for a whole heck of a heap. With the overhead view, that track does look detailed. There's not really too much negative to say about that. So that's pretty compared to GT Sport, as other people said, and yeah, it's a bit better, so cool. And then Laguna Psycha, which is WeatherTech Raceway now, I think. Okay. Not really too much more to say there, but there are some tracks later on that do look noticeably better that I'll mention when I get there. And then one of those was Sardegna. This one's Colorado Springs. Those look good too, but again, I wouldn't say there's a whole heck of a difference. I guess there's probably a little bit more definition in the logs there, like you can see more wood textures, I guess. I don't really look at the logs all that much anyway, even though sometimes I get a little bit too close to them. I still don't really look at them all that much in GT Sport. So, that's cool, I guess. Yay. This is a track that, like a lot of people said, looks a whole heck of a heap better, and it's not like Lasarf looked bad in Sport. I wouldn't even say it looked bad in 6. Yes, folks, you can see the water coming up and the textures and all the stuff. Again, this is, like I've said before, comparing it to what other people said and all that, where mine comes out a bit later. I've read on GT Planet of someone that took pictures of Lasarth before for media, and that person said that they pretty much nailed it. Like, even the water textures and stuff are in the correct place, like how much it would have the light hit is correct. The only thing different is the actual signs and stuff are oversaturated. But again, this is cinematic, so it might be edited compared to the norm. Like I said before, I think it is still in-game footage, like, to begin with, then it's cinematicized for the trailer and all that, so it's not lying to say it's in-game, but it is kind of stretching the truth, would be my guess, but there's nothing downright confirming that. But again, mystery and such. Not too much mystery here. This is pretty straightforward. This is kind of what we saw in the initial trailer. You can finally, again, get a whole heck of a heap of parts, or the parts that you should have had to begin with in GT Sport. But now they are in classes. Again, we kind of saw this with the old trailer. Anyway, I think the classes are pretty straightforward. Like, I would assume the Ultra race cars and stuff would only have the basic, if any. But the stuff that you tune from to begin with, like the GT86, like what's on there, would be able to go up to Extreme. That just makes fairly logical sense. But we know PD has been in the past. Like, in the past, you can make an already crazily overpowered Mosquito, give it the equivalent of extreme parts still, and make it do a wheelie. So that's the thing. no matter how PD does what cars get what level of power upgrades, I don't really care all that much as long as it's balanced. We'll see on that in the future. We don't really know for now. So I just hope that overall it's balanced, but we do finally have a performance point system. Again, we already knew that from the initial trailer, but this is just that much more confirmation. So that's cool. Again, don't worry about the prices. We get customization again with the wings and such. That's cool. Aesthetics are nice, but the wings maybe would be more than aesthetic. Remember back in the old Gran Turismos before Sport, you could put a wing in the car and it gave it more aerodynamics and such. Like, generally speaking, if you put a wing on a street car, it would be between +5 and +10 aerodynamics for the rear of it. I don't really think the +5 or the +10 had any real world implications. That's just what they compared it with the classic Gran Turismo. So again, I don't really know how that would translate to this one, but that's just a comparison to the old ones if y'all want to know that. Like, I think actually the specific car here was slightly different. Like, I think the Nissan Skyline was one of the rare ones where it got like a +20 or something. And generally speaking, they were between +5 and +10 for when you add a wing of how much more downforce you get. But I think I'm starting to just talk sort of kind of nerdy again with this stuff, but I don't mind doing that. I've been playing the game now for like 20 years, so excuse me for that. But you saw the wheels there. Gran Turismo partnered with BBS, so that's cool. Still not as much customization, Need for Speed or whatever, but probably more customization than any other of the racing simulators that I can tell. So that's definitely a step in the right direction, and cool. I mean, again, I ain't going to compete with Need for Speed and such, but better than nothing, so yay. As you can see, there are ground effects. I don't really know because they reference this as a wide body. If this is just going to have the relative to Gran Turismo of a flat floor, because really all we see changing here is more of the bottom of the car. Nerdy again. Gran Turismo 6 had a flat floor, in which generally speaking, relative to the performance point, made your car slower. So rarely ever was it a good idea to get the flat floor in Gran Turismo 6 if it was offered. I don't know if this is what it's relative to for Gran Turismo 7, but given that they're showing the bottom of the car changing, maybe in some times, if not all times, it is. But that, again, that's just speculation. And then you can see the Porsche there. And then I kind of already hinted at it, and a lot of people have. What do you see here, folks? Yes, we know rain. But what do you really see here, folks? I'll do it quick. Like, be prepared for really quick, because I've already done it. Ow. But, yeah, folks, I mean, they know what they're doing. For Jiminy Cricket's sakes, they put the yellow Evo in a trailer. Why did this become the Gran Turismo mascot? A thing from literally 2000? I don't know. Ever. I mean, technically speaking, at one point in time, Mitsubishi was Mopar. I don't know if it was in 2000. I can't remember, and frankly, don't care to check. Mitsubishi basically doesn't exist anymore, but they still try to advertise it heavily for the Gran Turismo games. So, yes, that's a thing. Y'all are probably already thinking the meme in your heads, or you're not because you're tired of it. But, yes, folks, that's a thing. But this is also a thing. High-speed ring is a thing. Yeah, I'm not going to try to rhyme anymore. But, yeah, that's pretty cool right yonder. I mean, high-speed ring, edited again, kind of like the editing of Trial Mountain that no one specifically really asked for. Yeah, it's edited. Please, please, Gran Turismo. I know this is not going to happen. At least not at the launch. Nothing confirms it, but I can pretty much see it. But I hope they use this idea. Please have a classic version of the track and then like a... It's not even really FI certified, but nuanced, however they want to word it, modern, whatever term they use for it. Just please have a classic version of the track that's the same as we got in old games. Just looks better. Please. Please. I know I'm asking too much. High speed ring. Yay, this bit's narrow. People's mentioned that again. That's quite a bit different than what the initial track was. Yes, it looks a whole heck of a heap better in the spots they show here. Ultimately, it'll look a whole heck of a heap better if we're combined with some of the bits ain't finished yet for high speed ring. But yeah, this shows a lot of things, including the Gran Turismo Sport overlay, the HUD and such. Whatever, Gran Turismo Sport was fine with that, so okay. It's not the end of the world of what this is this testicular, so Trial Mountain, we've seen this one before, we saw it in the initial trailer. I guess I could do somewhat of a comparison between the initial trailer and now, but either way, I don't think the track is completely done, so there's not too much point doing that. Because ultimately, how it looked trailer 1 versus trailer 2 versus when the game would come out would be different for all three, at least in some aspects would be my guess, so that's the thing. As you can see, it's obviously not like FI certified or anything, because, I mean, yeah, I mean, there was stuff right pretty much track, and then completely on the track there is just the mountain of Trial Mountain. So, I don't fully get the edits yet. I guess we truly can't judge until we drive the tracks ourselves, but this is who's driving the track right now. Wink, wink. I kind of looked into that with trailer 1, but if anyone has any more information on this player's PlayStation ID, wink, wink. Like, don't harass them or whatever, but wink, wink. I kind of looked into that for trailer 1 and it didn't really go anywhere, but if anybody has any information there, wink, wink. Yeah. Again, don't harass or anything, but yeah. That's the PlayStation ID. I looked even back in trailer 1, that PlayStation ID does exist, so yeah. Wink, wink. But anyway. We see the Super GT 500 car there in the classic 90s skyline. Yes, Kaz, we know. But we also see the Alfa Romeo 155 DTM car. And then in the back, I'm not going to try to zoom into it because we kind of already know. We saw another group. Right. Actually, I guess, do we have confirmation on what the car that's actually being driven here? Whatever, that's not an important thing. The important thing in the rearview mirror is there's a Mazda 787B and another Group 3 sort of thing. So that means, hallelujah, there's multi-class racing again. I'm excited for the tracks, but I'm really excited just there's a performance point, there's multi-class racing again, so I can screw around in 2004 Dodge Ram again and drift and such, and kind of like hoon around on a thing that's like powerful and such, and then the sleeper type thing, and it accelerates faster than anyone, and we're not going to get the 2004 Ram in the game, are we? Nostalgia. I can't believe they didn't show a shot of how much nostalgia they're doing here. That showed the monkey or the Loch Ness Monster or whatever in 4K and Ultra HD and ray tracing on the Loch Ness Monster. Look forward to that, I guess, in the game or whatever. I can't believe they didn't show that here. That probably means they haven't made it yet. It doesn't exist yet. They haven't done those details. Yeah, even though that would have been perfect for nostalgia, but whatever. Nostalgia. Okay. Add. Kind of, sort of new. McLaren, Biz and Gran Turismo. I feel like of all the Biz and Gran Turismo, this one kind of got ignored more than it should have. Because it's quite cool, like the seating position or whatever is different. And then it came out like right when Gran Turismo Sport News came out, so people were looking at GT Sport News and didn't pay too much attention to the McLaren. Of all the Biz and Gran Turismos other than the Dodge, it needs even more love than it already has, which might be the most love out of all of them. The McLaren probably deserves more love, respect, attention, however you want to word it. Again, Dodge is first, but that's usable. And then JDM and such, probably the more important thing is what track they're on, but again, mystery and such. People said before it might be Apricot Hill, blah, blah, blah. I guess we don't really know for sure. yet, and we'll figure it out at some point. But for now, there's your ad again, really. Ferrari FXXK. Again, there was the Ferrari earlier that I mentioned that might be this, but I'm not all that knowledgeable on Ferrari, so if y'all have of what that car we saw in the interior earlier is relative to this, if it is this, or maybe like a different version of this, like how we know there's regular FFX and then FXXK that's more based on the LaFerrari, or if it is just a LaFerrari at the beginning, whatever it may be. Again, I'm not that knowledgeable. If y'all want to chime in on that, that's fine. But again, more speculation and stuff. But we know for sure this is the FXXK. It's fast, it turns well. Yeehaw. Porsche, like we saw before with the old Porsche as well. Again, that really does look like something from Burnout, doesn't it? I can't think of the exact car right now, but I swear there's a car in Burnout that looks almost completely like that, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. This is a good thing. Yeah. Okay, I can't really complain about the trailer anymore. No more snide, sassy, whatever you want to call it, offhand remarks. Because, hallelujah, they finally done it, folks. They finally added a Jeep into a Gran Turismo game. Does this mean there's more Jeeps? We don't really know, but I think what this does sort of quietly confirm is that there's going to be like the Keeble wagon and the Swimmer wagon and stuff like that again, because you'd think if they're going to add the old American military stuff, they would have add what they've already had before to in there of the old German military stuff. So I'd assume this would be good racing with the performance points. We'll see on that. For now, if you want to drive a Jeep, if you have Forza, this is in Forza Horizon 4, and it's quite fun to drive. I can vouch for that. But for later, we'll get it in Gran Turismo, and that's cool. Good car. It'll probably be jelly as well, or rollover, I'd assume. So all around good. Yeah, nothing bad to say here. Hopefully they do add more Jeeps, but this is a great start. Hallelujah, Mopar or no military vehicle. Pretty futuristic thing. Y'all can like deem what connotation or denotation, whatever it's called. I'm not an English major. Pretty I'm talking about. Not so pretty. That's pretty. That's really pretty. Pretty much anyone who paused here said, yes, this looks like real life, folks, and I agree. But this is what I'm going to compare for this. Like, again, thoughts videos, its own thing, but just for comparison's sakes, remember back in Gran Turismo 5 Prologue when people started saying, and I don't necessarily disagree with it, that a car just with a white background started looking, if you, like, look far away from it, and you don't look at it for too long, started looking photorealistic. And again, I don't disagree. Like, I would say the first game that you can make an argument in a very few circumstances looked photorealistic of any console game was Gran Turismo 5 Prologue. Pretty much everything about Gran Turismo 7 looks photorealistic now. We went from, on very rare circumstances where the car has to be still and pretty much a white background to, in Gran Turismo 5 Prologue, to it's pretty much everything now in Gran Turismo 7, even the most in-depth of stuff now. Like a car drifting around a track at night with the marbling of the rubber on the track, which we've had in GT Sport, but I would say it does look better. For 7, there's nothing here, I don't think, that we didn't sort of kind of have in Sport, but it looks better here. Like there's the ray tracing and such, which again kind of always existed in games, just it wasn't an official thing. It was just how they had to edit it back then to make it look like it. Now ray tracing is actually an official thing that's actually software and stuff doing it. And then, like I said, we had the marbling, obviously, smoke and such. But yeah, that's a really good looking shot, no denying that. And then Kaz loves the skyline so much that they spin out. Or is that drifting? I honestly think that I would assume that someone driving the skyline, because I don't think that would be how the AI react. Again, we haven't driven against AI, but still. I think that was literally someone spinning out, and then they kind of saved it enough to where that sort of looked like a drift. Is the angle of the car looked more like it was spinning out, and they just sort of kind of saved it. I think that was someone just driving the Skyline, and they saved the spin out there. So that's cool. I mean, that's realistic in the sense of racing has spin out some time that you save. So no, I don't think that's a drift. I think that's just someone recovering it, but still cool thing that y'all can make your own assumptions on. Not too much assumptions there. That looks good. Again, GT5 Prologue, the engines did not look all that realistic. They looked better than about any other game out back then, but if you look at a close-up of an engine in Gran Turismo 5 Prologue, that wasn't one of the things that looked photorealistic, even though, again, in very few circumstances it could. This looks photorealistic. Everything looks photorealistic. We're to the point now, photorealistic. Now we just need to add complete VR to it, and we have the future. Porsche again. Sarth again. That's cool. Again, there's not too much to say. This is pretty much the end of the trailer. Beyond this is just the technical stuff, so I'll pause it for the last time here. Gran Turismo 7, the real driving simulator. Hallelujah, we're finally back to driving, but again, I'll do a separate thoughts video because this one's already been 41 minutes. Cricket. I didn't really mean for this to be 41 minutes, but I did mean it to be in depth, so I hope y'all enjoyed this right yonder. A whole heck of a heap of stuff, and I mean, Jiminy Cricket, I'm happy. More thoughts and such and all that. But yeah, folks, this is definitely worth yeehaw.